Now? Cool. Is it recording? Okay, it's cool. It's recording now. Hello? Okay. Can you hear me, Cassandra? Let me just check if I'm working. Yeah, I should be recording. Hello? Yeah, you're in the room. Can you see me, Cassandra? I think now I can see you.
Hi.
But I cannot hear you though.
Maybe
it's my end. Yeah, I can hear you now. Hold on.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Oh my God, I'm so excited to be able to meet with you, Cassandra. I really appreciate the time for, spending the time to talk with me. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, of course. Me too. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Yeah, I have my little microphone here if you don't notice, but
Okay.
I've been following you a while now on Instagram, and I reached out to you because I really love your work, and I'm recording now, by the way, too. So
Okay.
so I've been following you a while, and I really love the style of your work and the look of your work as well. And it had, if I had to explain your work to my, how I see it, I would say like, it's kind of like, it's like reddish, like I love the look of it because it's like it has that fire into it, and also it's like bold, and like it has that creamy as well. But I really love like the look of what you've created to your brand. But yeah, I mean, like, it's so unique, and like I feel like you see less of photographers having the same style as you have. So I really love your work. And yeah, if you could introduce yourself to the podcast, and the podcast again, just to say it, the podcast is called Go with the Flow Weddings, and we kind of just like go with the flow, and we hear more about you. But yeah, if you could introduce yourself again, how long you've been doing photography for.
Sure. So I'm Cassie of Cassandra Daye Photography. I currently live in Albany, New York, so that's where I'm based out of, which would, depending on who you're talking to, be considered upstate New York. We don't really consider it that, but if you're in the city, it might be. So that's where I am right now. I started my own business, I believe, in the fall of 2017. I can't even tell you sort of how it all happened, but it was like the perfect storm of things just happened. And I had found India Earl and decided I absolutely loved her work. And I was like, I want to do that. And eventually my 9-to-5 grind job just got to me, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to go try this wedding photography thing. So I started working for other photographers, sort of learned the ins and outs, what to do, what not to do. And here I am, made it through 2020 and still kicking. So that's something I'm really grateful for.
Oh, cool. And which photographer? I didn't really hear you. Whose photographer were you looking up to again?
Oh yeah, so India Earl. Do you know her?
Okay. No, is she local, or is she a photographer somewhere? Just
She's based out of Utah. So I mean, there's like a million amazing photographers based out of Utah, but she was like the one that I first found that like did it for me.
Yeah, I guess they come from Utah, right? Like they have like so much talented creatives out there, and I feel like here where we are, I'm actually located 30 minutes away from Albany as well, but I feel like there's not a lot of some like creatives out there that are like putting out work like you, like photographers, wedding photographer specifically. So I really give you the props, because like I feel like it feels like you're alone when you're doing this, like a unique style where you are. But like I could imagine Utah, every creatives out there has like really unique and like look. But I feel like here where we are, I feel like there's not a lot of that.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. I mean, I feel like in the beginning, it's really easy to just want to look like everybody else because you want to sort of walk the walk and fit in. But it's been really interesting. I remember my first year, I was like, I'm going to nail down my style and I'm going to figure it out. And like a year and a half in, I still had no idea what that was. And I feel like I finally like captured the style that I envisioned in my head. And you're right, I hear from a lot of people it is very different. But it's funny too, because like it's always evolving, and maybe that's it. Like I treat my business more of a creative artistry thing, and
Mhm.
that's part of why I'm in it. I'm sort of just rambling right now, so
No, that's okay. Do we go with the flow, Cassandra? Is it Cassandra Day, right?
Cassandra Daye, yeah.
Okay, that's completely fine. We go with the flow.
So I say this because recently I've been planning some styled shoots and creative work for myself, and it's just been an interesting couple of years to like have the time to reflect and be creative and really create work that I'm proud of and that like is evolving and growing. So yeah, I
Right.
mean,
So I know you mentioned the style shoot that you did. I know I'm not sure if you were the one that did a style shoot, which was in Glenwood and the Valley View Farm. Was that the style shoot that you did?
yes,
So
yes.
you coordinated that style shoot.
Yeah, so I co-planned with a wedding planner and designer. So we worked on it
Mhm.
together. We've worked on different things before. And we finally were like, we want to do something together. And that's what we created. And it turned out like better than I could have ever imagined. I mean, it got published too, which was really exciting, but it was
Can,
just,
can I tell you something though? Like the Glenwood and the Valley View Farm, from what I've seen, it's like an iconic like photo. Like the what you guys envisioned was really iconic. It's like when I think about style shoot, like I'm what pops out was the Valley View Farm scene and also the Glenwood as well. There was like scenes there that just pops out of my head. So I really congratulate you like that style shoot, because like I feel like there's something to that. I feel like that was a special style shoot that you did, and I feel like you mentioned, you got published as well.
right. Well, thank you. I mean, I have to say though, both of those shoots were technically like designed by
Mhm.
Wildflower Events Design, who are an incredible planner. I think they're based out of Connecticut. But like I feel like every time we get together, there's some magic made, and I just love working with those girls. They're incredible. So can't take all the credit, but I do appreciate it.
But you know what? Like the photos turned out great, and like I just love like whenever I'm looking at photos. I was actually in your website as well. Congratulations again with the website. Is so cool. I wish I can have a website like that. Also I was looking at the photos, and like one of like I'm rambling as well, Cassandra. So one of the photos that I've seen that really stuck out to my eyes was that there was the Philadelphia photos. There was one scene particularly. I love the one that you had with the art frame, and like the couples were in front of each other. And I felt like the photos that you have, it really captures like that. I was watching it, there's something into that specific photo that I was watching, and I felt like there's that like story behind the
Right.
that photo specifically. And I really, I feel like you really did such a great job like capturing like your couples, or like this style shoot. You can see like their intimacy or their story.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. I like just posted today about that, about I don't know. For me, I want the photos to be something more than just like a pretty picture, right? Like
Mhm.
obviously we all love pretty things. I do, but it's more than that for me. Like and I'm just talking about aesthetically. Like I feel like there's this other side of wedding photography that sort of has made made me successful in my business and the way that I approach things, not just my vision in my eye, but holistically like building my business so that people are comfortable to share their stories and be intimate and feel comfortable in front of the camera so that I can then do my job technically, which is taking the photographs and making beautiful pictures for people. But I think without that first step, like you're not fully able to like have something that feels so deep and you can just like look at and feel something and understand without having any words attached to it. So
So it seems like tell me more about like when you're photographing your couples. I know you started 2017. You got so you figured out your style like probably like a few like just recently, or how did you come about with your style?
I mean, I want to say like probably the end of 2019, I felt really sort of like finally comfortable in my style and my editing and all of that. But it's still evolving. Like I have,
Mhm.
it's it's funny because for me at least, the way that my business is, it's very personal. So it's attached to like my personality, the way I do things, my style. And so I feel like I've been evolving as a person. And
Mhm.
so it's hard to almost keep up with like the branding and who I am. But I think it's really cool to keep trying things and keep evolving, because if you're stuck, then you're not going
Right. I mean, you do such a great job. Like, I mean, good work as well. Like, the style is consistent with the, true to yourself. And I mean, and also I noticed that, like, I'm sure like couples are attracted to the style of like what you're putting out there, because I feel like it wasn't like that maybe at first, maybe couples may not, doesn't have the same style that they envision, but like I feel like the more you posted stuff with your work, I feel like more couples are seeing, oh, they actually like those work. But so now you're having these couples for this year. So tell me more about like I want to see like how you like what's the process like? Do you get to know your couples first? Like how does that work? How does Cassandra work with her couples before and like during the wedding day?
Sure. So I like to call myself a wedding spirit guide.
I
I
saw that. I saw that in like Instagram or like I mean your website. Tell me more. I actually want to hear more too about that as well.
Yeah, so thank you. It's I guess like wedding spirit guide, wedding fairy godmother, like basically I run my business, and there's like a picture over here, you can't see it. It's the work hard and be nice to people. So I like probably care way too much, but I love to just take care of my couples. Like I got married actually in early 2018. And so in planning my wedding, I'm a planner type. So like I bring that to my business, and obviously with shoots, but also for my couple. So I'm very hands-on. I have guides for them. I have like literally I've gone dress shopping with a bride.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, so like I just love this stuff, and so I understand how stressful wedding planning can be. I understand that most of my couples have never done this before, and especially right now, like nobody really knows what's going on, and it changes by the minute. So as much as I can be there for my couples, like in any possible way, I love it, and it like lights me up. So I'm happy to do that. So I hope that answers the question sort of
Yeah,
vaguely.
no, of course. I mean, like, I didn't know that you would go to that point where you go dress shopping. That's pretty cool because, like, I feel like you gain that connection the more you invest in your couple. Like I feel like it will, the more comfortable they are during the wedding day as well.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, the other thing too is like building that trust in that relationship. When I first started out, I was having my engagement shoots as like an optional add-on.
Hmm.
And I've realized that including an engagement shoot, especially because I shoot with couples that are, I mean, mostly all over the Northeast, but like anywhere, that may be the only opportunity I have to meet them before the wedding day in person. And having that experience to not just like have a shoot, so they have like a practice run for what it's going to feel like on the wedding day, um but also just like spending time with them. So for me, an engagement shoot isn't just like 45 minutes with my camera in your face. It's okay, let's sit down and hang out and get to know each other like as people. So when I show up on your wedding day, it's like, oh, here's Cassie, like an old friend taking our photos. We know what to expect. We're comfortable with her. We've worked out all our anxieties about having our picture taken. And then, it's much more fun and less stressful on their wedding day when they have a million other things to think about. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
a big
do.
part of my process.
I definitely see importance of engagement shoots before the wedding day, and just so like I feel like it breaks a barrier with the couples. Like when before the wedding day, you want to have that connection. And yeah, I mean now it's 2021. You've had a successful business. How is it looking for you this year? Like like are your couples doing the I know you're leaning towards like you like the smaller weddings, which everyone is, but is that looking like a smaller wedding this year, or is it gonna be a more bigger wedding that you normally do?
I'm always down for both. I do love that last year sort of brought on this trend, I guess, that I hope sticks around, of micro weddings and elopements. And I definitely would like to book more this year, because they obviously are a smaller lift when it comes to planning and all of that. And I just feel like it's a different vibe. Like, it's big, what some people love and want big weddings, some people love and want something small. I'm open to all of it. Like, I love all of it. But this coming year, definitely more of the bigger weddings on the books. Last year, though, I think between I shot like 20 weddings slash micro weddings slash elopements in September and October alone. So once we were able to finally like get out and do something, even if it was limited, a lot of people were booking last minute. So I'm hoping to see some of that this year again. But it's going to be a crazy year. There's lots of big weddings. But I am very hopeful, considering the changes that have happened, the vaccine and all of that. So I am definitely, I try to be optimistic about things, but also realistic. So it's sort of like a wait and see kind of thing.
Right. And like, so I mean, a lot of vendors are affected from last year, but is there, I mean, this is your only income, but like, what were you doing before? Like, this is like just off topics. And I was thinking in my head. So it's like, I know you started photography 2017. What were you doing before doing that?
Sure. So prior to that, I worked for the state. So I ran a program for the Department of Health, much different than what I'm doing now. Like, I
Hmm.
basically have worked in sort of helping environments within the government, because I live in Albany, which is the capital of New York. So it's readily available, which I loved. But I found that with weddings, I could help couples in a different way that was a little bit more creative and personal. So
Right. So that must be such a different transition, because you were working at Department of Health, and now, you're you mentioned you found inspiration from the photographer from Utah. How did you like, how did that happen? Like, oh, you just wanted to do, like, what was your first wedding like? Like, how did you transition from like Department of Health to a photographer?
sure. So I was actually planning my own wedding. Um, Probably not the best time, and I would not recommend anyone just decide to quit their job. But I
Hmm.
decided I had it, and I was going to quit my job, and I was going to figure it out. It's funny, like the day after I left my job, I actually was part of a styled shoot. I made my husband model with me down in New York, with two other wedding photographers, one of which is like, she's a big like education, like photography education person. So
Hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Hart University and Lindsay Roman.
Yeah,
She's
it sounds familiar. The Hart University. Yeah.
So it just felt like this, like the universe all sort of was like, okay, you're doing the right thing. I soon realized that, like, I think I got a little overzealous. So I did end up going back to my job at part time. So that was one thing. So just to be like practical about things. But I started working for other wedding photographers who had put out ads or things on social media, about like needing assistance and that sort of thing. So I started assisting. I had literally no idea about anything. Like, I took a camera course to learn the ins and outs of my camera, because I had a DSLR, but I didn't really know how to use it besides just pushing the button. So obviously I realized that was really important. And I did that while planning my wedding. Didn't really have time for it, but did it anyway. And then I started working for these other photographers. So they taught me kind of everything in a way in terms of editing. I feel like the biggest thing when you're starting out is like having this vision for what you want your work to look like, and then you do
Hmm.
it and you're like, this is awful, like what's wrong here. So I feel like one of the biggest things that helped me was just like, I like threw my entire self into it, like eat, sleep, breathe, photography, creating styled shoots, learning from other people, education. Like, I hustled my ass off. And I still do. Like, I work constantly, but it doesn't really feel like work. Um, so that's sort of, I guess, the abridged version of how I got to where I am now.
Right. And I mean, I feel like it takes that much work. And I could imagine like, starting out, like you mentioned earlier, like you're trying to envision what your work would look like. Did you ever had the vision of what you have right now beforehand? Like, did you ever think that, oh, I'm gonna create this majestic, photos that has like, this color, that like sweet color. Did you ever thought about that?
I I don't know that I can answer that, but what I can say is I feel like for a while, like it's funny because like I love that look of India Earl, right? Like that I don't even know how to describe it. It's like it's the Pacific Northwest. They have their own vibe. Everything's like warm and glowy and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
That's not my vibe. Like that I tried so hard to edit like that and every time I just felt like it didn't feel right. So
Hmm.
now as much as I love these other styles and whatnot, I just like can't I literally couldn't even edit differently if I wanted to. So I don't know. It just came from me and I had to just be like,
Hmm.
this is my style and this is what it is. And it's different, which is good, but it's just me. So I
So
don't
you were trying to create that like different type of style, but you just couldn't like come up with that exact look, but it eventually led to like the look that you wanted.
yeah, I think it was just a matter of like letting myself be curious, letting myself try things and like be like, this isn't for me. And then finally finding the thing that's working for me, fine tuning it, tweaking it, and here we are.
I feel like that's the hardest thing though, like creating something that's really consistent and like the style that you want to put out there. I feel like, once you have that, consistent work and the style that you want to put out there and the colors that you want, I feel like, that will create the brand that you want. And, like that's what you did with your brand. Like it's so consistent and unique and like, has that again, like majestic reddish look that I love. Because I feel like, at first, like when I started out as a videographer, like probably, maybe a year and a half ago or 2 years, when I saw that look, I just like couldn't understand it. The more I was in, in this industry, I keep looking at styles that you put out. I kind of like, I fell in love with that look. And I feel like, at first, just because like, there's not a lot of photographers that are putting out work like you in here specifically. I feel like for other people, they see it like, they probably don't like the type of style, but I feel like, the more you look at it and the more you're, exposed to it, I feel like I just fell in love with the work. And I'm sure like, do you struggle getting couples that, you might get an inquiry, or how does it like, does all your couple, I'm sure when they see their work, your work, they love it, but do you still struggle getting couples that may not like, you know um like the look, or they want a different edit? I don't know, like does that happen to you?
Um, I feel like earlier on, it definitely was a concern. And so what I've done to make sure that like my style is really what they want is just having conversations, including in my contact form, like what is it about my work that you really love? And having those conversations with couples because I understand like my style of photography isn't for everyone. Other people's style of photography isn't for everyone. There's all sorts of styles, there's all sorts of couples. And so I just want to make sure that like we're a perfect match. I would never want because I always put myself in like my couple shoes, right? So I would never want my couple to get to their wedding day and be or after their wedding day and have all their photos and invested all this money. You can't do it over. And then they're like, actually, I don't like this. Like this isn't what I was thinking. This isn't what I like thought of. I don't like this and can you edit it differently? I've never had anyone ask that. I feel like my style is very distinct, but in order to make sure that like couples are like not caught off guard by anything, I just try to make sure that like they fully understand what they're getting and like what my style is, and I express that on my website, in my all my emails and communications, in my conversations with them, because there have been situations where people will say like, oh, I love light and airy photography,
Mhm.
and to me it's like, well, I'm not light and airy, but what are you seeing in my work that you are drawn to, that you're using those words? Because a lot of people don't know terminology of photography. I didn't know a lot of like, what's golden hour? Most people don't know what that means, but it's our jobs to educate people. So I think it's just having those conversations and managing expectations that like helps to sort of weed me out for people, or make sure that we're a good fit and no one's going to be disappointed, because
Right. I mean, that's the most important thing, like just establishing the, expectation beforehand, because like what you said, you do the, you ask your couples in that questionnaire, like, oh, what do you see in your artwork that you like? I haven't done that before, but like I'm starting to realize since you mentioned it, like I should put that on my, questionnaire on my website, like, what do you see in my work that, that you like? So I could, communicate with them beforehand. But again, like I feel like you put consistent work out there in your website, and I feel like whenever a couple sees your work, they'll just love you, the style of it. I don't think they would bother to ask a different type of style, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely not. But I did have a situation this last year with a couple who I did their engagement shoot, which I think is another way to figure out like if
Hmm.
you're all good with this, right? Like you like the style. But they came back and asked about some things that I had done with their photos, basically like cropping on moments or using my
Hmm.
prisms, which I'm really big into now. Um,
Uh-huh.
and they didn't like that. They wanted something a little more traditional. And
Hmm.
I'm not really sure like where the I don't know, like gap in that communication came in, because I do feel
Hmm.
like my style is a little bit less traditional. But when it comes down to it, I'm here for my clients. Like I love being artistic, I love being creative, but if that's not what they want and they hire me and they like certain things about my work and not others, I'm probably not going to be super excited about editing completely differently, because like I said, it's hard for me to edit differently. But
Hmm.
it comes down to the clients, like it's what they want. And so on their wedding day, I'm just going to be a little more aware of like how I'm cropping things, how I'm approaching things, because I want them to be happy with their photos and their experience. So
Right. So how do you prevent that situation from happening? Do you after the incident? Did you do something differently to communicate with them? Like, oh, I might do some prism shot or like crop it this way. Have you learned something from that, or I'm curious?
absolutely, yeah. So I mean, I just had a conversation with the bride about what it was that she was seeing, because I don't think she fully understood what the prism looked
Hmm.
like, how it translated. I know she saw me using it, but they didn't ask any questions while we were there. But I did say that, prior to the wedding, when we have our conversation about the details and the timeline, like I'd really love to have an additional conversation about their expectations for the photos, so that we're on the same page, because like I said, they're their photos, not mine. And so I think just making sure those lines of communication stay open, and managing those expectations. Um, Nothing is a perfect process. So, I mean,
Right.
that's one in dozens of weddings where I've had that situation happen, but it did stick out to me to make sure, like, I want to make sure people we jive, because
Hmm.
it
Well,
is
at the end of the day, it's for our couples, and I feel like like it does. You do want to have that expectation beforehand, just because you want to be creative. You want to put out work out there that that really resembles you and like what you like to do. And I feel like that's important, to have the expectation so you can do those. And I feel like it's same for videography. Like if I just try to whatever I shoot out there, that's what you're gonna get. So I try to communicate that, like, you're gonna get the same style of video that you're getting for your wedding that I've done for weddings. So I feel like it's really important to have that communication beforehand.
yeah. I mean, I think people are different. They grasp different information, or they see things differently than other people may. So I think it's easy sometimes to just assume that people understand what we're trying
Hmm.
to say, but it doesn't always happen that way. And I think it comes down to too, just like understanding our couples and who they are as people. So like that particular couple, they didn't strike me as like super out outgoing and adventurous. They were more about like the quiet moments and that sort of.
Hmm.
And so like that's all part of getting to know your couple. Like I'm not going to make a very like introverted couple who's very shy and sweet and loving, like do piggyback rides, like in their wedding dress on their wedding day. Like it doesn't match. So I will say this, wedding photography is kind of exhausting because it's like psychological and it's creative and it's logistic. Like there's so much that goes into it and you have to be thinking about it all the time in order to, like, I don't know, make people happy because you're in a service industry. So
I'm sure you put a lot of thought into it, I mean, like just thinking about like your business, like for myself, like I'm constantly thinking about videography. What can I do with my website? What can I do always constantly thinking about my work and trying to find something to make it better, and I feel like it's kind of like exhausting in a way, but at the same time, it doesn't feel that way. But like,
yeah,
it's
it's
like,
exciting.
so we're just trying to like best serve our couple, but like at the same time, I the reason I asked that, like the expectation part where they like where your couple was expecting something different, because like that's something I'm trying to avoid. Like that's like kind of like the worst feeling, but at the same time it's all for couples. But like I feel like you really have to have the communication beforehand, so you don't put your situation into that, because I feel like I could imagine how you would have felt. Like it kind of like I'm really into my work, so I feel like if someone says something about my work, my couple, it kind of hurts me. So I could imagine, like, for your creative, like, perspective, you want to do it your way, but at the same time, it's, the couple's, video or photo.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know. I've heard horror stories of people just being more concerned about like their artistry and their, like what they want out of the photos on someone's wedding day. And it's like, it's
Mhm.
not, when it comes down to it, it's not about us. Like, if you want to do that, great, go do a styled shoot or whatever, but don't like put your own personal wants and needs on a couple who it's their wedding day. Like I feel like sometimes that can get lost. And for me, I'm like an empath. So when I got that email from that bride, I was like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Like they're like, no, we love the photos, but we just want to make sure. So it wasn't ideal, but like I was glad that they told me that, because
Mhm.
even worse, they could have gone on to their wedding day and been like, why are there all these prism shots, and don't like prism shots. So
Right.
I was grateful that they were like willing to tell me that they didn't exactly love all of the shots.
Mhm.
So
Well,
it's
I love I love the prison. I'd love to put that in my video, but like, again, like it's the couples, I'm glad that, it worked out okay. I mean, like, again, like I try to not put myself in that situation because, of how I would feel, but like, I guess it's just important to have that communication beforehand. But like, great, I love your work, Cassandra, so keep up the great work, and you're killing it. And I feel like at the beginning it's so hard to find your style, right? Like I feel like it's hard for me to find a style, and like I feel like like once you find your style, I feel like the couples were just gonna get attracted to that. But like the beginning, I feel like it's just the hardest part, is like finding that style, that look, and then once you have that, it's just gonna go through, it's just gonna flow through, I guess, if that makes sense.
yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just like experimenting and allowing yourself to try things that you may not like, and also being able to be comfortable with yourself. And if that whatever it is that you create is different, like it may not be for everyone, but if it's you, then you're going to feel good about it. You're going to feel like people will receive that better. So
Mhm.
I don't know, just keep being you.
I know, and I mean, I feel like you won't have a problem from that. I feel like, because when I go to website, it seems self-explanatory. It has everything there. Like the look. Like I feel like a couple that might like the light and area. I feel like your website will kind of like not attract them. So I feel like everything you have set up is completely perfect. And I before I leave off to take more, I don't want to take more time away from you. But which what were you the style shoot, like where was that published? I want to know about it.
The Glenwood one.
Okay, was it the Glenwood that got published, or was it
Yeah,
Valley
that
Farm?
was published in Green Wedding Shoes last fall, which was really exciting. Cause like I
Uh,
had that in my mind when we were planning it, but I'm like, a million people submit to Green Wedding Shoes every day. And literally like in less than 24 hours, they were like, we want to publish it. And I was like, holy crap, like that's so exciting. So I don't know, I'm not like overly zealous about being published, but it did feel nice to have the work and sort of the validation of that. And especially with all the wonderful vendors that were involved, like there are people that have
Mhm.
worked before. So it was really nice to have everyone like have that under their belt.
That's so cool. Congratulations. Yeah, I mean, I think this year, I was recently, before I ask you this, um, working with videographers, do you normally work with other wedding videographers, or like, is that like a common thing for you when working with videographers?
I feel like it's maybe about half the time. So I recently actually started learning Super 8 vintage format film.
Hmm.
So I'm going to start offering that to my couples. I also realized that format is not for everyone. So I
Hmm.
wouldn't be offended if someone did not want that. But I have worked with other videographers in the past and some wonderful videographers that I like. It's, as you know, it's a dance. So like it's nice
Hmm.
to be able to refer clients to people that understand the dance and that it's not about our shots necessarily that we want. It's about the couple and like their experience and that sort of thing. So
Right. And I want to ask you this, like, what are your pet peeves with, like, working with wedding videographers? You can say anything you want.
okay.
This is a free space, like, I'd love to hear more, more. I've been learning from other photographers, but like, what is it from your experience that, you encountered with a videographer that you may not like what they did? And, I'd love to hear that.
Okay. So I don't want to badmouth anyone, but
No, 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 you can do it.
like,
You can
and I'll
say
say
anything.
this,
You can say,
9
you can
times out
talk
of 10,
crap.
it's a positive experience. And if I work with someone new and it's been positive, I put them on my list of wedding videographers to refer people to. However, there have been a few situations that were less than stellar. And so I guess the biggest thing for me is just, like I said, like being aware that we're all a team and now, hi, we
Mhm.
just met and we're working together for the benefit of the couple. So it's just like being respectful of that relationship and like what our end goal is. I think maybe like, I mean, this could be the same for a wedding videographer that you've worked with, or a wedding photographer that you've worked with who is a little too egotistical and it's about them and their show.
Mhm.
But one thing that is a pet peeve for me is videographers that like will repeatedly ask the couple to do the first look over again. And it's like, but you're taking away from the actual moment of what happened. And I had this happen once, and the couple just looked at me like, why are we doing this again? And I was just standing waiting for them to be done because it's not real. So like that for me, because of the style of my photography is
Mhm.
about those like real moments. It was just sort of like our styles aren't jiving here. And so I don't know. It was funny that the couple like reacted like that. Like, what's happening right
Oh,
now?
that's funny. I mean, I feel like I also think like I feel like I mean some photographers maybe may have that, like defend, like they may like they see videographers as assholes, right? Like I feel like I mean I don't know. I haven't met like so many videographers, but I feel like my stereotypical brain would say like, oh, videographer maybe this asshole, maybe you have that, like they will ruin the show, like that will run the show. But I feel like most comes to like what we give to our couples, right? I feel like we wanna, get the shots that we want, but at the same time, we are mindful of who we were working with. But yeah, I mean that kind of sucks because like I didn't know like videographers may wanna like we do that type of scene, like the first look. I mean, for our approach, we just kind of like go with the day, and like we don't really like pose the couples with like can you do this again for the first look. We kind of just go with the flow, with with what's going on. And I feel like I guess my point is like I guess I feel like it's most likely for what we're the end result is for our couples. We don't want to, we're always mindful we're all in the same team.
Right.
So that kind of, yeah, I mean I kind of ask those for photographers because they always have different answers. And I feel like videographer and photographers, it's all about teamwork. So I mean, yeah, I guess that could be, that sucks. That's funny though.
It's really funny to think about. They also were like yelling things at the couple. Like it was just, I mean, hey, some people want a photographer or a videographer that's very like, I say I'm hands-on, but I still like to sit back and let like things happen and let them be themselves. But some people do want that sort of cheerleader motivation or like really big personality. And I don't know that that's me per se. The one thing I will say though, I think videographers really like working with me, at least they've told me, because I incorporate motion. So in
Mhm.
that respect, we don't have to do things over and over again because you're already getting that shot. So, you know, videographers want motion, I want motion, and it's a win-win. So,
No, that's great. I mean, I'm not sure if you've worked with Indigo Pine, but I've worked with her before. But I love the stuff that she does because she does like the motion stuff and like, that stuff. We just kind of work with our photographer. Whatever the photographer pose our couple, I feel like we just kind of like work with them. Like we don't really pose our style because like I feel like photographers, I kind of just trust the photographers eye and vision because they've the ones that's been doing this for a while, and I feel like it always turns out differently for my videos because of like how my photographers pose my couples. But yeah, I mean, I think we're working with this year actually, Cassandra. We're working. I'll tell you after I'll message you who we're working for a couple. But I think potentially we're going to be working this year, so I'm really excited to be able to work with you this year.
oh, awesome. I'm excited to hear who it is.
Yeah, I'll send you a message after, but I don't want to take more time away from you. But thank you again for giving me the opportunity, to talk with you and like giving me the time. And would you be okay if I post this through YouTube?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. This was awesome. I really appreciate all your kind words and your time and all
No,
of
no,
that.
thank you.
Excited to work together.
No, thank you. I mean, you do such great work and keep doing what you're doing. And I mean, I do the podcast, so I feel like you could look back at this in a few years. I feel like we probably look back at ourselves. What the heck are we doing? But like I'll post it to YouTube. I'll tag your name, so whoever tries to look you up on YouTube, your name, the video will pop out. So I feel like that's something cool. I'll just tag any like locations as well, like venues that that you may want to work with. But I just tag like wedding venues in YouTube, and like whenever a couple look that up, I feel like they'll see, if they search up like Cedars Lake, they'll see the podcast. Maybe who knows who may watch this podcast, but I'll tag that. And thank you again.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, no problem. And then thank you again, and we'll keep in touch.
Sounds good. Have a nice
All right,
weekend.
bye. You too. Bye
Bye.
bye.